So next position up is going to be our running back room. We're going to talk about what the Oklahoma Sooners look like here in 2024 and who we think is going to be the breakout player at this position. The good thing is we've got a lot of young players, like literally the whole room is young. And so let's jump into that. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. If you like the content and the breakdown of the rooms, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Also share. Why? Because sharing is caring. We'll grow this channel because of you, the people. And we're putting all this together for you all enjoyment. So this series is sponsored by our partners over at Aura. We'll hear from them. And let's dive into what this running back room is going to look like for Oklahoma going into 2024 and the SEC. Let's talk about all of your personal information all over the interwebs. Y'all know about that, right? Have you been getting a ton of spam calls and text messages as of late and trying to figure out why? I know I have. Well, most likely these data brokers out there have sold your information to scammers and spammers and anybody that would see value in your information. Yeah, it kind of makes you feel a little bit uneasy. I know when I did a search of my information, I saw my address, email, all kinds of stuff that had me a little nervous. Not gonna lie. That's why I've been leveraging Aura, our partner and sponsor for this video. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your information on the internet and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your information if you ask them to, but it's so difficult to get your information off of the internet. They do that by design though. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family. It's really easy to set up, and you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do all the heavy lifting of protecting you in this big world of the internet like I have. I've been leveraging it for the last few months, and man, the alerts I get on how it's been opting me out of stuff has made me breathe a sigh of relief. You should check it out as well. That way you can focus on what's more important, like college football, recruiting, anything else but your information on the internet. Check out my site, www.aura.com/unfairsports. You can check out the link in the description below or the QR code here on the screen. Let them know that I sent you. Now, the running back room is kind of interesting to me because, like I said, we're young. From Gavin Sawchuk and Javonte Barnes running things, Caleb Hicks being the redshirt freshman there, and then you got all these young players coming in, right? Well, I mean, still you got Emeka Megwa, who's a redshirt sophomore. Then you go down the list, you've got some preferred walk-ons, and then you've got Taylor Tatum coming in over the summer. He's not there now, but he'll be there in the summer. You got Xavier Robinson, who's there now. You got Andy Bass, who is injured. He tore his ACL in his state championship game, so he's gone for a year. That room has a lot of major potential long term. And so we're going to look at these numbers, who's there and what's going on. And so last season, Oklahoma ran for 2,300 yards on the ground. Now, I know, right? Doesn't seem like, you had over 2,300 yards, but we had over 2,300 yards combined in rushing, which isn't honestly bad for what we were doing, right? It was kind of an unstable room last season, I'll be honest. But at the end of the year, we start to see where the running back room is going to go, right? Gavin Sawchuk finishing, 5 straight 100-yard games. And, so he became the top dog. Tyree Walker, who was no longer with the program, he's transferred to Wisconsin. Got to replace his production. He gave us 500 yards last year. Gavin Sawchuk had 700 yards. Dylan Gabriel actually dropped us 300-something yards, 373 yards to be exact. And Marcus Major had 300 yards. He's no longer with the program. So we've got a lot of pieces to replace. Javonte Barnes and what little production we got 104 from him, but he was dealing with that foot injury in which he had surgery over the summer last year. It was something that was nagging him from high school, and then he played as a freshman on it. They went ahead and got it cleaned up, and he had to go through recovery. It didn't go as fast as we hoped. But hey, still finished the season 10-3, 10-2 for the regular season, losing the bowl game. But overall, running back, we thought was going to be our strongest room, and it ended up being the one that had the most flux. But guess what? Still put up some solid numbers, being 2,300 yards. And so going into this season, I'm looking at this. I know this is my hierarchy, right? I'll simplify that for you. My hierarchy is going to be Gavin Sawchuk's your top back, right? I think right behind him, you'll have a healthy Javonte Barnes. And I think Caleb Hicks is going to be your third back going in there. And I think the freshmen from there are going to be slowly worked in at that point. I see Barnes being back healthy. He looked pretty good and strong, moving around overall in what I've seen and heard in some of the videos and stuff out. I think that he'll come back and provide us with that tier 1-1-2 combo that we were hoping from him and Sawchuk, especially what we saw in the Cheez-It Bowl, not last year, but the bowl game before against Florida State, when both of them will put up 100 yards as true freshmen. You're hoping to get that back again, where you have opportunity to have 2 running backs rush for 100 yards. And, it won't be your Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon type setup, but you have the opportunity to have 2 running backs that can put up at least 700 yards apiece. Now, I'll say this, and I'm keeping it a buck for y'all. I don't think we get another 1,000-yard rusher this season. I don't feel like our offense will be set to run the ball with just one dude or even just 2 dudes and just constantly pound it. Now, granted, looking at what Seth Littrell does, he runs the ball a lot. He's a borderline run-first setup. Honestly, Levy's offense is more run-heavy also than people think. It's just it goes so fast. Whereas Littrell's he rolls with pace and tempo when tempo makes sense, and then he goes down in pace and slows things down when it makes sense, right? He goes based upon the ebbs and flow of the game, which I appreciate more than most. So I don't honestly think we'll get 1,000-yard rusher this season. That's my hot take for the season. I think this will be the second year in a row. We won't have 1,000 yards, but I can see us having at least 2 people at over 700 yards this season. So write that down. That's the thing I believe. So I think DeMarco Murray's setup is going to be having these backs be consistent, rotating them out. Now, after Caleb Hicks, what I would like to see is I want to see Megwa get about 10 carries a game, right? He's the big dude, 6 foot 1-ish, 200 and something pounds. He's the dude that's just yoked, right? And when he came from Washington. Now, granted, some of you may have seen this, but he's actually suing the University of Washington because of how they handled his knee when he got injured, when he went up there for rehab, right? He was underneath Jimmy Lake. Lake got fired. Kellen DeBoer came in, and the way things was handled there was not good, right? He pointed out some things in that article, in his lawsuit. It's very interesting breakdown, but his knee, supposedly, the way things were, it should have been a career ender, right? But it looks like, he got a carry against TCU at the end of last season, got 6 yards. Him getting in the game told me, okay, they think that there might be something here, right? And I think Megwa, he was a 4-star player out of Texas, and as big and strong as he looks, I sense that he can go in there and provide 10 carries a game, right? So even though I have Hicks as the third back statistically, I think Megwa's going to start seeing a lot more carries just to see what they can get out of him. And if he can provide a good 10 carries, I think he can go and get you 50 yards a game, right, by himself, just because of what the potential looks like it could be. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying the potential looks like it's there. But overall, running back in general, looking at Sawchuk, I'm looking at Barnes, and we get that 1-2 going. Yeah, that's gonna be the game changer for us for the most part. And I say that because having a solid run game really takes the pressure off your quarterback. And we're rocking with a sophomore quarterback, right? This will be his first full season starting. He's going into the SEC, a conference that's a lot tougher in comparison when it comes to talent. A lot more NFL guys come out of there. But at the same time, there's a great opportunity here for Oklahoma to develop around him and put him in positions to be successful, right? We need to make sure that the run game is consistent. The run game is productive. That way Jackson Arnold is having much pressure. And then it also opens up the pass game, right? You get the play actions going because whenever your quarterback has a solid run game, they usually can do more, and then it makes the defense have to work harder, right? And so I sense Seth Littrell is going to make sure the run game is established and going. That way Jackson Arnold has it a little bit easier in the way he sets things up. You won't have to be pressured as much to force things or whatnot, even though I kind of hope he does force things deep on a regular basis. But we'll talk about quarterbacks a little bit later. But the bigger thing is here with these running backs, I think DeMarco Murray is building up a special room. I hate that with the departures, we lost Howie Walker, we lost Marcus Major, freshman Dalen Smothers went back home to North Carolina. I hate that had to happen, but I understood. Supposedly, he kind of was going to bounce before the season started, but they convinced him to stay around. But I'm glad he's back home and feeling more comfortable because being homesick, does suck. I'll tell you that myself. So, looking at the room, Sawchuk, Barnes, thinks that's your two-headed monster, and I'm hoping, like I said, we get some Megwa action. I'm hoping his knee is there's enough to be able to get him to play, and boom, we should be able to run through. And I think DeMarco Murray's going to do great, especially when you bring in the freshmen, right? Like, I want to talk about them real quick and then wrap up. We have Xavier Robinson, who's coming in at like 228 pounds. So weight-wise, Xavier Robinson looks, 6 foot 228. Everybody's doing that comparison to Samaje Perine. When I talk to him, at that weight, I think it's probably about 230-ish, in high school. He was running a 4.5 at that point, and his goal is to cut down below 4.5. That's what he told me. I went and saw him in the state championship game, chopped it up a little bit, told me about his weight and everything and how he's trying to, make sure he can cut because he wants to cut that time. He wants to be in the 4.4 range, right? In that 4.45, 4.47, 4.48 range. If he can cut under 4.5, man, he's going to be a major threat because not only is he super strong, having that kind of speed, especially breakaway speed, compared him a little bit to what Derrick Henry does with his size, I think Xavier Robinson can give us that big back that can also just outrun everybody. So add him. Can't wait to see what Taylor Tatum weighs in and everything here in the summer and how things look. He's playing baseball right now, so he's going to be a lot of fun. And then Andy Bass, when he gets healthy, he'll be a nice addition to have next season. He won't be in this 24 season. We'll see him probably in 2025. So, because he's kind of one of those players that does everything, which you all appreciate. So, that's running back room. Hop in the comments. Let your boy know your thoughts. How y'all feeling? What y'all think DeMarco Murray can do with this class? What y'all think DeMarco Murray is going to do with this room? Who do you guys think is going to be the breakout player? Love to hear from you all. Get your thoughts. Who's your hierarchy? List them out for me here in the comments below. If you made it this far, you like the content, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for you to join this family of college football fans. Talk a lot of OU football. We're transitioning into SEC football and college football in general. Having a blast, do it. So, YouTube says check out one of my videos. Highly recommend it. I curated it for you. And we will talk on the next position soon. Peace.